what's your emergency?
Welcome back to That Weewoo Show, a podcast where we watch and discuss episodes of the ABC show 911. I'm Ellen.
I'm Alice.
And I'm Bex.
Thanks to everyone out there who's been listening to our episodes. We are almost at the end of season 3. Oh my God, how did we get here? But we really appreciate everyone who's been commenting on Spotify and other places. We've got to say a shout out to Kira again this week, who, when we were having our long tangent about coffee a couple of episodes ago, reminded us that Starbucks coffees are quite different to Australian coffees, in that like a macchiato is not what we call it in Australia. So it's like, you know,
I think just Starbucks coffee is different from coffee anywhere. Whatever you consider is a coffee, Starbucks is different.
Yeah, they've kind of made the language their own. Yeah.
Yeah. And we forgot that.
But anyway, coffee is definitely different all over the world. We're all snobs here about coffee, apparently, compared to other places. But anyway, thank you, Kira, for telling us about that. So before we get stuck into episode 17, Alice, can you tell us what happened last week?
So last week, Buck met his older self in the form of an elderly firefighter. Hen performed life-saving surgery in the field, and Athena inadvertently discovered a serial rapist while attending an electric scooter crash.
Whoops.
This week, Athena's investigation puts her life in jeopardy, according to the official promo. We're told that the official promo for this episode says that the 118 races to rescue a little girl in a runaway hot air balloon and help with a city power outage caused by a hijacked tree trimmer truck. Let me say that 3 times fast. Meanwhile, Athena's investigation into the serial rapist case puts her life in jeopardy. And the triggers for this episode are a doozy. Once again, they are not in any kind of chronological order, but this episode will deal with discussion of cancer, a childhood threat, multiple instances of claustrophobia, gun violence, a graphic assault, major character injury, a police officer threat, suspected cheating, sexual violence / rape, and a train derailment.
Damn. When you list them all out like that, it sounds awful, this episode. There's so much.
There is, yeah. Although for some of them, like, the cancer is just the fact that Michael appears in this episode. And I think maybe he mentions once that he has cancer and he's having the scans to determine how he's going. So the triggers are not, like, the severity of the triggers is all over the place. Yeah. Because the trigger of cancer is nowhere near the trigger of the graphic assault, for instance.
We didn't mention it already, and it will become pretty clear early on in this episode that the title is Powerless.
You get your shots ready.
Yeah, we really need to line up a few shots in this one.
Because we should mention that right off the bat that this is a Kristen Rydell episode. So you know what that means when it comes to themed episodes.
But it was co-authored, though, with Lindsay Beaulieu, so hopefully Lindsay has pulled this back from the brink of thematic overload.
I don't know. I think the fact that you were able to identify very early on that this was a Kristen episode, it kind of indicates that
maybe
she didn't. I mean, it's nowhere near the level of calm as a bitch, but it's still pretty on the nose.
It's overwhelmingly powerless.
We are powerless to resist the theme of this episode.
All right, where do we begin?
We're going to begin with Sophie and her mum going for a hot air balloon ride, which I think is the mother's attempt to blatantly buy her child's affection in the divorce proceedings.
It does sound that way, doesn't it? And the kid's not really having any of it. She's like, you and Dad are getting a divorce and you're trying to make me feel better. And the mum's just like, get out of the car. Let's just do it. She's very grumpy, this child.
To be fair, if they're getting up for a hot air, those things are normally like sunrise. So how early would they have had to get up in order to do this? So she's being dragged out of bed at God knows what time to drive God knows how long to get in a hot air balloon that she did not want to get in the first place.
Yep. I'd be cranky too.
I would absolutely be cranky. I'm not a morning person.
To go with the theme of the episode being powerless, Sophie is feeling a little bit powerless in her family. She is powerless to stop her parents from getting a divorce. And that's almost verbatim what she says. She says that she is a kid, she doesn't have any power. Her mother and her father get to make all the decisions.
Yeah, because you're like 10 years old, kid.
Yeah, and you have you have no concept of your parents' relationship. So just butt out.
But when you're 10, everything is huge, and I can understand, that she's a bit overwhelmed by the whole thing.
Yes.
But she agrees to get in the balloon. Her mum says, "It's magical," and Sophie goes, "It's not magic, Mum, it's hot air." That's what makes it fun.
The kid's very cynical. The kid's more cynical than Bex is.
Oh my God.
I do, before we go on with my cynicism and Sophie's cynicism, not only does this episode on the nose for thematic references, but the music supervisor was having a ball this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
it really was.
While the mother and, once again, the mother does not get named. We know it's Sophie.
Yeah,
we know
Mum.
Sophie's name. But Mum is just Mum. While they are floating around, a song from the 60s called Up, Up and Away is playing, which is all about being up in a balloon.
It's very upbeat.
It's very, very cheery.
It's happy, yeah. So something's going to go wrong because
Yes.
they're so excited.
Which is exactly what happens. After way too much footage of a hot air balloon floating around, they're obviously trying to get their money's worth of being out on location and having this hot air balloon, and God knows what equipment they had to haul out there in order to get all these aerial shots.
Mm-hmm.
There is a gust of wind which kind of jostles the basket and knocks everyone around. And Nick, who is our hot air balloon operator, decides to make an emergency landing. The winds are pushing too hard. He's going to bring the basket down. And it's as much of a crash landing as you can get when you're in a non-powered vehicle, I guess.
Yeah,
it definitely would not have been fun. Bouncy. It's very bouncy.
It drags along the ground a little bit, but they're all okay. They're fine. And then they just need to get out. So Mum sort of says to Sophie, "Let me get out first so I can help you." And so she and the instructor guy, or the operator, I don't know the pilot, what do you call a hot air balloon
I'm going
person?
with operator. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick. He gets a name.
Yeah. Does he introduce himself at the beginning? I don't know.
He's talking to the other guy and over the radio, and he says, "Gabe, this is Nick," as if anybody else is going to be on the radio that morning. I don't know, maybe they've got multiple balloons up, who knows, but that's how we get his name.
Well, I mean, here in Melbourne when they do it, there's a lot of balloons.
Yeah?
Yeah, because they do the early morning flights, and yeah, it's usually a whole group of them. You just...
Okay.
Obviously, they could only afford one.
Maybe Gabe does have other people that he's meant to be monitoring. So, anyway, Nick gets a name. So, yes. But with both Nick and the mother disembarking the basket at the same time, suddenly the basket is very, very light and starts to lift off again.
Yeah, with Sophie in it.
Yes, because Sophie has not been lifted out of the basket yet. And somehow, as the basket lifts up, it knocks Nick off balance, spins him around 180 degrees, and he falls flat on his back, cracking his head on a rock. So he's out of action. And so the mother is powerless to watch as her daughter floats off without her.
Yeah, the ropes are trailing on the ground, but she just stands there having a panic. Although I feel like maybe if she grabbed one of the ropes, maybe she would have ended up dangling from a rope. So maybe that's a bad idea, but
I
do that.
understand in a panic she probably like did not think to grab the ropes, even though I'm sitting at home with like backseat hot air ballooning going, just grab the rope.
Yeah, me too. Or tell her to jump out into your arms. Yeah, no, she calls 911 instead.
And while this 911 call has not made my list of the worst 911 calls for the season, it's still not exactly helpful.
Yeah, it probably should have.
I mean, I can add it. The list is going to keep going until we get to the end of episode 18. But she tells Maddie, because it's Maddie that takes the call, that she's lost her daughter. And so Maddie's like immediately in like missing child mode.
Yeah.
But the mother can't tell Maddie the location where the child was last seen because she's like up and aware in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, she's flying away. Maddie's like, did you say flying?
Yes. So, of course, the 118 get dispatched, which is actually hilarious because they're obviously told, you know, we've got a missing child in a hot air balloon. And so Buck is very grumpily sitting in the back complaining that, you know, hot air balloons look so romantic until someone has to call 911.
Oh, because he's been there before. But Eddie doesn't know that, so he just gives him like a look to say, what are you talking about?
It's such a weird exchange.
Yeah.
So Buck's explanation for his like cynicism when it comes to hot air balloons is that, you know, I heard that dispatch get a lot of calls about these things. And Eddie's like, okay, that makes sense. Maddie told you that? And Buck's like, no, someone else told me that.
Yeah, someone else. Like, what? Why are you
like,
not talking about your ex to Eddie?
Yeah, I'm sure Eddie knows about Abby. Like, why?
Oh, 100% Eddie knows all about Abby. But obviously not this.
About it.
Not this story. But I just love that, like, they're having this exchange, and Bobby's just got this little grin on his face because he remembers this exchange. Oh yeah. Because if for any of you who have forgotten, Buck tried to take Abby on a hot air balloon date, and she kind of went, do you know how many calls I get about these sort of things? And they didn't end up going on the date because Patricia was in trouble, so Abby had to go. And then Buck, who had probably begged the morning off from Bobby, immediately just went back to work and then had to explain to Bobby why he was at work and not up in a hot air balloon with his girlfriend.
Oh, that's right. Poor Buck.
Poor Buck.
Well, they arrive at the scene. Well, I assume the hot air balloon hasn't gone too far because they can still see the balloon, like it's still right there.
Yeah, those winds seem to have dropped.
Yeah, I guess so. And Bobby asks how old her daughter is, and the mum says she's 10. She doesn't have a phone with her, but there's a radio up in the basket, apparently. Gabe has now arrived, the other hot air balloon guy, and so he says we can get her on the radio. So they try that.
Yeah, so they load Gabe up into the back of the truck, and they chasing the hot air balloon across the fields to get in radio range so that Gabe can teach Sophie how to use the ropes to lower herself down.
So this is another case where we are outside of the city. Like we're going across fields on rolling hills. Like, how close to LA is this, and why are the 118 there?
Yeah.
I mean, considering that Buck took Abby there, I don't think it's that far out of the city. I don't think it's farmland like we were in the last couple of
I was just thinking, yeah, you're right. And I was just thinking that they do, when the mum and the girl are up there, they get a view over the city as well, don't they?
Yeah.
So it can't be too far away, but yeah.
No. So they get in range. Sophie is able to grab the radio, and her mother is trying to convince her that she is able to help herself. Because Sophie is scared. She doesn't want... She thinks she can't. And so her mother says, and we're going to get our shot glasses ready, that she knows that Sophie feels powerless, but she's not. She has all the power right now. And that bolsters Sophie, and so she gets up and follows Gabe's instructions. And the amount of footage that they have of the hot air balloon and the trucks driving across the fields, they really went, you know what, we're spending a lot of time out here. We've spent a lot of money hauling the trucks out on location. We are going to use every damn second of footage that we have filmed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the balloon is dropping now. It's like it's coming up too close, like too fast. Sophie's sort of saying that she's going to crash. But they do, like, it comes into land, like it doesn't even, does it bounce on the ground? Like it doesn't, they just sort of jump on it and drag it down the last little bit.
Yeah, I think it gets close enough to the ground that everyone can reach the ropes. And, like, we see, you know, Evan Longlegs Buckley sprinting across the field to grab one of the ropes.
He just yeets himself into the basket with her so that he can, like, help. And
Bobby hanging off the side as well to add a little bit more weight to it while the rest of them heave on the ropes.
So Sophie gets out and gets back to where her mum is, and then she's like, "You were right, Mum. I do have power." It's like, oh my God.
Ugh.
And so I think you and Dad should go to therapy.
I think Kristen needs to spend some time with 10-year-olds and figure out how they actually talk.
Yeah, all they want's Roblox.
Yeah.
I just looked up, like, where you can go hot air ballooning.
In Los Angeles?
In LA.
Okay.
And it's, like, fairly low, like, fairly out of the city. It's, like, where all the wineries are.
Oh, so yeah, it's that's like where they go. Isn't it a winery in season 1 when Buck and Abby go?
Probably.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it can't be too far because Big Bear's only, 2 hours out of LA, even though Doug takes
apparently
24 hours to drive there.
We already know that the 118's range covers, like, the entirety of Santa Monica Beach all the way out to... Yeah.
They are the only house. They go everywhere.
Yeah, that's it. But it looks pretty. Like, if anyone's in LA or in California and wants to go on a hot air balloon ride, you can go over the wineries.
That does sound nice.
It does. All right, we're going to Hen and Karen's house. And Hen is having trouble putting the kids to bed now that they have 2 of them. There's a hostage situation, apparently. Negotiations. Karen's like, well, who won? And Hen says they did, which is totally accurate for getting small children to bed.
Yeah, I mean, Nia's probably easy to put to bed. It's going to be Denny. Denny's going to be the one that's going to be pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
But while Hen has been doing that, Karen has been doing their finances. She looks like she's going through bank transactions, or maybe it's a budget spreadsheet. I'm not entirely sure. But she tells Hen that they need to cut back on eating out. They're spending far too much money. They're spending more on takeout and eating out and on restaurants than they are on groceries. And then she notices a particular transaction for a teppanyaki restaurant. And she asks Hen about, like, wait, you went to teppanyaki without me?
Yeah, who'd you go with? So Hen says that she went out with Chimney because she never took him out for his birthday. And Karen's like, but you didn't invite me? I love teppanyaki.
She's so pouty when she said that. It's so cute.
It's so cute. But then we get another interesting interaction where Hen says, you know how it is? I invite you, so he invites Maddie, Maddie invites Buck, Buck invites Eddie, and now I've got to invite Athena and Bobby. Why is Buck inviting Eddie to the triple date?
Yeah, it's like every person that they just mentioned was a couple. So you've got, Chim's inviting his girlfriend. They have to invite Athena and Bobby because those 2 are a matched set. So yeah, all of a sudden Buck and
Maddie's
Eddie are being...
Maddie's inviting Buck because, like, Buck feels left out if Maddie doesn't invite him to things. But Buck invites Eddie. It's like, okay, sure.
And it's not just like...
Besties.
It's that everybody in the 118 understands this immediately. Those 2 are a matched pair.
And outside of the 118, because Karen's not in the 118, but she knows that Buck and Eddie are a package deal.
Karen seems to buy this as, like, yeah, okay, that does make sense. and kind of gets sidetracked by the frugalness of Hen and finds that very, very sexy. It's a side of Hen that she's never seen before. So they get in a little bit of
it's a strange thing to find sexy, but anyway, I guess your kink is not my kink. It's okay.
Hen starts flirting with well, did I tell you that I was thinking about getting a Costco membership? And Karen literally gasps and starts purring.
But they do get interrupted from being all, smoochy-woochy by a little voice from the other room calling. So Karen says, oh, I guess I'm being summoned now. But Hen tells her to stay put and she's gonna go get him.
So as Hen leaves, her phone chimes, beeps, she gets a message, and Karen checks it. I don't know why she checks it. I mean, I know why she checks it, because she needs to be able to check it to see these text messages to kick off this storyline, because the messages that pop up on Hen's screen say, are we still on for tomorrow? This time it's on me, from somebody named Imelda. And Karen is speaking for the entire audience when she looks at the phone and goes, who the hell is Imelda? And oh boy, we have another cheating storyline for Hen. Because apparently that's the only storyline she gets at the moment.
Yeah.
It's something to do with kids or with cheating.
Or sticking her hand inside someone's chest.
I mean, she could have just asked Hen who it was, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, that would have been dramatic enough. So for the drama...
this entire episode is going to be for the drama with, extra sparkles.
Anyway, we're going to go to Michael. Hang on, where are we? Are we at Athena's house?
No, we are at Michael's. We're at Michael's apartment because Bobby is there to pick up the kids. Because Athena is still at work, although Bobby is super early because the kids are just sitting down for dinner. So he gets invited to join them for dinner.
Yeah, but Athena's, Michael says, he thought Athena was coming to get the kids. But she's been picking up a lot of overtime lately. And then Bobby says it's because ever since she caught this case, which apparently May knows all about, she's like,
she saw it on the news.
Mum's on the task force. Yeah, she saw it on the news, so...
Yeah, and the news have given Jeffrey a cool name. He is as you said, the realtor rapist.
Yeah.
You gotta stop naming these dudes.
Yeah.
Anyway, Michael tells him to let's not talk about that. It's not a dinner table subject. So, yeah, May's having her prom this weekend, and so she wants to talk about the schedule for Saturday because Athena's going to take her to get her hair and makeup done at 12 o'clock. So they should be done by 3. And you have to start so early for these things. I don't know. It just reminds me of, wedding day, having to get up at crack of dawn so you can start getting ready. So yeah.
The main point of this conversation is the photos. So after hair and makeup, Darius, who obviously survived dinner with the whole family, and is continuing to date May, is picking her up at 4 o'clock, which will give Michael 45 minutes for pictures. And Michael's like, that's not long enough. And I'm thinking, how long does it take to shoot a couple of pictures?
Yeah, 45 minutes.
Yeah, to take some photos.
Yeah, and he starts bartering for more time. He's like, don't you think I should have a little extra time, on account of my brain tumor, which is going to render him incapable of using a camera.
Yep.
Which I find ironic that it's him taking him bartering for more time to take the photos when it turns out that Harry is the photographer of the family.
Yeah.
But anyway, May just flat out denies the cancer card.
No, she's gonna tell Darius to come earlier.
Yeah,
so not because of the
cancer card though. She can't deny the puppy dog eyes. Because he's like, he plays the cancer card. Una reverses him. So he's like, gives her the puppy dog eyes. And she's like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
He gets an hour for Harry to take photos.
Like, do photos not take, 5 minutes? Like, you just...
I thought so.
I won't argue. Yeah.
Although I'm guessing, based on kind of what we see at the end of the episode, it's not just photos of May and Darius. It's photos of May and Darius with all the combination of siblings and parents and step-parents and... God knows who else.
It's like wedding photos where they're just like, yep, bridesmaids, yep, groomsmen, yep.
All right, now just the bride's family.
All right, third cousins twice removed.
Yeah. So that possibly might take a little bit longer, but yeah, I don't see it would take an hour. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It becomes a moot point anyway. But it does bring us back to the Michael's cancer storyline because Bobby tells Michael that he's not going to be able to play the cancer card much longer because he's got a scan tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. And Harry is sure that he's going to crush it.
Yeah.
And Michael says that he's feeling pretty good. He hasn't had any headaches or dizziness. But, we'll see how it goes kind of thing. The last time it was bad news, but hopefully this time it'll be okay.
And then Bobby says the very ominous thing about bad news. The thing about bad news is you never see it coming. Dude.
Yeah. Which is a weird kind of segue because...
It's a very weird segue, isn't it? It doesn't really make sense.
It's not like that other episode we had recently, which were really snappy segues that just went into each scene.
Yes, the really clever...
It just goes to...
Yeah, no,
it just goes straight to Athena being on the case.
Yeah.
Well, she's beating herself up over it.
Yes, because
they can't find this guy.
Jeffrey has vanished into thin air, which Athena finds impossible to believe since it's 2020.
Yeah, he hasn't used his credit cards. We've got Lou back again, the detective who was in the last episode.
Yeah, we've got Lou and Stafford obviously working this case.
Yeah.
And they are going to be interviewing a number of Jeffrey's victims.
Oh, yeah, these poor women. They make them watch the videos, which is, I don't know if this is normally how these investigations go, but, they watch the videos and they're like, is that you in the video? These poor women are just not enjoying having to relive through their trauma again.
No, because I think it's adding a layer to their trauma that they didn't even know existed. Because as far as they were concerned, this guy just broke into their house and raped them. And now they're finding out that he stalked them in advance and then he filmed the attack.
Yeah, and he put a camera in the smoke detector.
And now not only have they been assaulted, but this guy might have been rewatching the assault, and now all these police officers in the room have watched them be assaulted.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like unnecessarily cruel to make them relive the whole thing.
Yeah, I think you probably could have achieved the same result by just taking a still, like snapping a screenshot and going, can you confirm that this is you? This is from a video. We're not going to make you watch the entire thing. But for the drama of this episode... And the interesting thing with this scene is that it's kind of the same interview, but with 6 different women. And it keeps going backwards. It sort of cuts between each woman answering the questions.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they found all these people. Did they just identify them from the videos? Or, match them up with people who'd reported
Yeah, I'm going to
assaults?
assume that they probably went through everybody who had reported being sexually assaulted and matched them. Maybe...
Well, no, because one of them reported it as a break-in, not an attack.
Maybe Jeffrey was very anal and had marked all of the addresses on the videos. So they just went to the homeowners and...
Maybe, yeah.
Who knows? For the drama, they were able to find all of these women.
But yeah, it's awful. It's a horrible scene to watch.
It's awful, and the one of the women actually says that I was wearing a necklace when he attacked me, and he took it with him when he left. So they realised that if he's taking souvenirs or trophies, they can find, see if anyone else is missing anything personal, and then if they can track that stuff down, then it might help to bring evidence. Because at the moment they don't have any evidence against him because he was wearing a mask and everything. So, but if they can find these things in his possessions, then they can use that in court. So I guess this episode is a lot of short kind of scenes jumping between storylines again.
Yeah, it is. So we go to a commercial. When we come back, Michael is in the MRI machine. Can I say MRI machine? Magnetic radio. Yes, I can say MRI machine.
Imaging.
Just wanted to make sure it wasn't
I don't know what it stands for.
Make sure it wasn't like an ATM machine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have an M on the end, so I think you're okay.
We're good. Okay, so Michael's in the...
I don't know if either of you have watched Breaking Bad, but I almost turned it off in like season 1 because an ATM gets stolen at one point and they just keep saying ATM machine.
Oh
no. The person I was watching it with was just like, like they're uneducated, and then like the main character comes in and says ATM machine, and he's a teacher, and I like almost threw something across the room. I'm like, it's a fucking ATM. Anyway,
ATM machine and PIN numbers.
PIN number. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Especially working in retail, I have to say, like, just enter your PIN, or like people all the time will be like, oh, what's my PIN number? And I'm like, Twitch.
MRIs are like one of the worst. Like, I haven't ever been in one, but it just, I've heard that they're extremely noisy and claustrophobic.
Yeah, apparently they try and like play music now, and you can hardly hear it because it just bangs the whole time.
Right.
Well, apparently Michael was in, quote unquote, that coffin for 45 minutes.
Yeah. It's a long time to be lying flat on your back like that too.
Especially with all that banging.
Yeah.
So he's finished the scan. He is still in the hospital, but he's on the phone with Athena. I don't know why. We don't actually get really anything out of this scene except that he's done the scan and he needs to go upstairs to get blood taken. So it's kind of the leading into him getting into the elevator later on. Otherwise, it's a pretty superfluous scene. But it also then segues into Athena in the LAPD headquarters, going back into the official criminal investigation room where they have all of their case files, and like the board with all of the stuff up on it for Jeffrey's investigation.
Oh yeah, they don't have any red string, but it's there in spirit.
It's pretty close.
They're trying to work out where he's been by tracking they went through the credit card stuff again, but Stafford says that maybe if they look at where he had been spending money, they could work out his movements.
Yeah, so everything's pretty obvious. Like, his house is green, his office is red, the real estate listings are yellow, but then there's a blue pin way out of the way of him. And it's a coffee shop, and he's been there 7 times in the past 6 months, but they can't work out why he'd go there.
And that's the point of that scene.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Like, I don't know, it's odd, but it's probably nothing. And then we go to the dispatch.
And then we know that it's probably not nothing, because otherwise you wouldn't be telling us about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Athena gets that, like, the look on her face where it's like... Mm-mm.
The wheels are turning.
Yeah. Yes. But yes, dispatch. We're in the break room. Josh is on the phone.
It's Josh's turn to feel powerless.
Yes, because the district attorney has, as he tells Maddie when Maddie comes in, the district attorney has been calling him because Greg is coming up for his sentencing hearing, and they want Josh to appear at the sentencing hearing and give a victim impact statement. Not just write a letter like the rest of the dispatchers have to do, but actually stand up in court.
Yeah, which is going to put, like, there's a lot of trauma going around in this episode, isn't there?
There is. But yeah, Josh doesn't want to see him again and doesn't want to talk about what he did to him while Greg's sitting there looking at him.
Yeah, he thought he wouldn't have to face him again, but he says, like, not going makes him feel more like a coward. But because he's, like, Greg is now in jail, but it feels like he's the one with all the power. Because Josh feels, like, basically scared to face him.
He'd be powerless to face him?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't think he actually says the words in this scene, but...
No, it's all the power, but I'm still flagging it as, you're like, powerless adjacent.
Yeah. So, speaking of power, we actually have literal, like, electrical power coming now.
I did love that you're watching this episode and you're like, oh, there's literally a power outage. And both Alice and I are like, what did you expect?
Like, yeah, what did you expect?
I don't know, but...
It's an episode called Powerless by Kristen Rydell. Of course, there is going to be a literal power outage.
So this scene is so dumb. Like this.
Oh,
like,
it's
dumb.
so
it's just
stupid.
Ridiculous. This woman is walking her dog, and she comes across two workers who are cutting trees away from power lines. Like they're just trimming them. They're not cutting them down, I don't think.
No, they're just trimming them.
Yeah, and she actually asks them, like, what are you doing? And they're, like, trimming the trees. And she says, you mean murdering them?
Apparently they cut another tree, or trimmed another tree a while ago, and the other tree has not recovered from being trimmed. Which, I mean, trees don't bounce back instantly. They take a while to grow. They are very slow growers. So if it's only been a year, yeah, it's probably not going to have grown back just yet. But the worker tells the woman who I've nicknamed in the notes as Karen, not like our Karen, as in I want to speak to your manager kind of Karen, that if she has an issue with what they're doing, she needs to call the city because the city are the ones that have all the power.
They're just doing their jobs.
Have we counted how many powers we're up to now? Like powerless?
I have not been counting, but I'm glad I'm only taking metaphorical shots because I feel like if I were actually taking shots, I would be like 3 sheets to the wind by now.
Yeah, we'd be drunk by now. But yeah, so this Karen goes on about how they're botanical butchers and that trees are like show dogs, and without the right cut, the entire aesthetic is wrong and they're not made for crew cuts. And I'm just like, what? Like, I'd really like to say that not everyone who shows dogs is insane, but...
But she also has, like, this tiny little, like, white fluff ball of a dog, which I want to say is, like, a Bichon Friche or something, but I don't know. It's tiny, it's white, and it's very well groomed.
Yeah, I didn't look too closely at it, honestly, but, like, my breed is a breed that you, like, don't...
Yours is just fluffy.
Like, don't trim. Yeah. And trimmings actually looked down on, so I'm just like, what?
But these workers are so uninterested. They're just like...
Yeah, they don't care.
It's what stops the trees from taking the power lines down, so go away so we can do our job. So they start doing it, and one of the guys gets up in the... I don't know what you call that thing.
It's a bucket. So
the bucket.
A bucket. Okay.
It's a
cherry picker.
It's a little bucket
that goes up in the air.
Yeah. Yeah, but his saw doesn't work. So he tells the worker on the ground to go and get the other saw, which requires the worker walking around to the other side of the truck. And in the, 10 seconds that it takes him to walk around to the other side of the truck, the Karen decides to jump into said truck, and the workers have apparently left the keys in the ignition because she drives off.
Where did she put the dog?
The dog's left on the side of the road.
Yeah, it's just
So she just leaves it on the side of the road?
She just leaves it. It's just sitting there because as the truck drives away with the worker still up in the bucket, worker number 2 is just left staring at the dog in like, what the fuck? And the dog's just looking back at him going, yeah, no, I don't know. She's crazy.
And the guy stands there looking at the dog for the longest time.
Yeah.
Like, he's just in shock. Like, like, the truck, where'd the truck go? You didn't want to run after it or anything?
I mean, the guy in the bucket didn't notice the Karen climbing into the truck and say something?
No.
Oh, and then Karen, I'm so sad that she didn't actually get a name because I have a friend called Karen and she's not like this. But anyway,
Hence Karen is also lovely, but you know,
she starts cackling.
Oh, it's
in
such
the
a
driver's
cackle.
seat. And she's like, "Who's got the power now?" Another power.
You're about to have all the power, lady.
And then it's not the one who was left on the ground who makes the 911 call. It's the one who's in the bucket.
Yep.
Yeah.
He reports to Josh that he's been kidnapped. And again, it's not like the worst, but it's not the most helpful. Because Josh is like, okay, cool. Is your captor armed? Are they known to you? And the worker's like, they just stole my truck. And Josh is like, hang on, wait. Are you reporting a kidnapping or a vehicle theft? And the guy's like, both. I'm a tree trimmer, I'm up in the bucket, and some psycho just jumped in my truck and took off.
Yeah, at least, yeah, he does say a location at this point, so I guess that's good.
He gets, like, you're heading east on, he gives the street name, and then he looks up and sees, and do they really string power lines across streets like this? Really?
Well, it's got to go across the street somewhere, but it is quite low, this one.
I forgot to check while I was driving around today. I don't know. I don't remember. I'm not going to, like, swear on anybody's grave that I've never seen power lines go across the street.
Well, they have to go across some streets, but our power around here is our power's underground, so
same in my old suburb, the power was underground.
Anyway, on La France, apparently the power lines go across the road and either they are very, very low or this bucket is up very, very high, because the worker sees said power line coming towards him and tells Josh that you might want to send an ambulance before yeeting himself out of the bucket into the open top of a UPS truck.
I think he crashes through the top of it.
That's worse.
Yeah, I don't
think that the truck should, like, the roof of a truck like that should be fragile enough that a person can go through it.
I don't remember exactly, but I assumed that the top of the truck wouldn't be open to the air. Like, that just seemed like weird.
It's either like a male ute.
It's either the truck is the top is open, which sounds stupid, or the roof is so fragile that a human body can fall through it easily.
Yeah,
I think both of them are ridiculous. Anyway, so he's leapt out of the bucket none too soon because Karen has completely forgotten about the fact that she is driving a bucket truck and drives the bucket straight into the power line, which rips the power line, drags the poles, rips it from the transformer. There's sparks everywhere. She gets a shock through her. It's a mess.
Yeah, they don't disconnect anything, unfortunately. Like, they don't just rip the power lines completely down.
I think she does disconnect a line because I seem to remember Buck and Eddie, dodging.
There are some sparks.
A line that's dancing around at some point.
Okay, so I just checked the street near my old one that did have power lines, and that, they literally go across the street to the houses. So yes, okay. Power lines across the street. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why I'm overthinking this scene. There's so much that is stupid about this scene. I should just write the entire thing off.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just suspend our disbelief for a minute.
Several minutes. Okay.
The 118 show up.
Of course they do.
Bobby says to everyone, stay where you are, don't try to get out of the truck, or, you know, there are sparks coming out of some of the power lines, so they know that the power's still on. Bobby radios in to ask dispatch if they can tell DWP to shut down the power.
Thank God Jamal is not working, because he would have just come back and gone, I'm not showing that the power's out in that area, Kat. Yeah, that's the point, Jamal. We need the power to be out.
Yes. But Josh says it's going to be 10 minutes. And Bobby's like, see if you can shave some time off that, because we're kind of in a hurry here.
Mm-hmm. But yes, so then the driver of the mail truck does say that the guy fell through the roof. But Hen says there's no broken bones, just a couple of bumps and bruises and maybe a concussion. Because the cardboard boxes bore the brunt of the fall.
So what was the... No, I'm not even... Nope. Nope. Nope.
It's made of the, like, thinnest aluminium
yeah,
you've ever
nope,
heard.
not even going to think about it. Moving on, we learn from Chimney that cardboard boxes are sometimes used as crash pads for stunts in movie and TV.
But of course those boxes are usually empty.
Yes.
Yeah, these ones were full of people's mail.
You
I want to hope there's nothing, like, kind of slightly sharp in them or anything.
I think it's like their Amazon packages.
At least the porch pirate's not still around.
Oh, she would have had a field day.
Yeah, so they know. So Buck says, this is a great line though. I thought those truck cabs are supposed to be grounded. Why does her hair look like that? because Karen's hair is all like static, like it's sticking up in the air with the static.
Mm-hmm.
So they realise that the truck is still quite electrified.
Well, her hands are still on the steering wheel. So whatever power is going through the truck, I guess, is passing through the steering wheel.
Apparently.
It's just a lot of static electricity around her, because even though she's not getting electrocuted, there's still a lot of electricity around.
Well, it's enough to addle her brain, because she sees LAPD pull up behind everybody and she's like, you came for the tree murderers. And Eddie gives her like, what the fuck, lady, look? And Buck's just like, yeah, no, I don't think that that's who they're here for.
I don't think that addled her brain. I think she's just a nutcase.
So while this is going on, Michael is still in the hospital. So this is happening concurrently to his storyline. He is getting in the elevator, getting to either go up to have bloods taken, or he's going down because he's finished getting bloods. Uncertain. But as he gets on, a gentleman calls for Michael to hold the elevator. So Michael very bravely sticks his hand between the doors, and thank God this is the episode Powerless and not like trapped or stuck. Holds the doors so that the gentleman can get on to the elevator with him.
I was getting stuck vibes. So isn't there someone else who gets stuck in an elevator during stuff?
Yeah, it's the mother and the son. They get stuck in the elevator. The elevator starts to fill with water, and then as soon as they rescue them, the mother immediately throws her son out of her house.
Yeah, that's right.
David gets onto the elevator with Michael. We go back to La France. And Eddie is looking at the Karen in the truck going like, we need to get her out of the truck. Any update on when the power is going to get turned off? And as if answering his prayers, there's one final spark from the transformers and the power dies. And they're like, sweet. They get to work. Bobby radios into Josh to thank him for getting the power turned off, and Josh is like, DWP says they're still 4 minutes out.
And then, just in time, Bobby goes, well, if you didn't shut the power off, who did? And then immediately, the lights all start going off in dispatch.
And then we get this like rolling scene where the lights clunk out and Josh looks up and goes, seriously? And then the lights go out in the elevator in the hospital and Michael goes, seriously? And then back on the street, there is the sound of a car accident. And Bobby turns around to see two cars have collided because the traffic lights have suddenly cut out and says, seriously? I'm like,
yeah, I don't know what is
seriously?
about LA, like, as soon as traffic lights go out, people start crashing into each other. It's like, are you not looking
No.
where you're going?
Yeah, did you not see that there's no traffic lights?
This,
like,
not even that. Just, like, you can see people coming the other way. And anyway, never mind. For the drama, there is a traffic accident. And the lights
maybe it's an
out.
electric car. Ha 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 ha.
Buck says, I'm on it, Cap, and he runs off towards the car crash. I'm not sure what he's going to do there, but maybe
I think he's just checking to
injured,
make sure everyone's okay, possibly trying to get the
maybe
road
doing some traffic control.
Is he authorised to do traffic control?
No,
Yeah,
it should
usually have.
it should be LAPD doing it.
Yeah.
It should be, but I'm pretty sure they have training on it. I know the SES here do training on it.
LAPD are on the scene, so, they should just yeet Williams up the road to get him to do it.
Oh, true.
Anyway, back in the hospital elevator, the two guys sort of just look at each other and go, probably an outage.
It's the most, like, dick measuring without dick measuring. It's like,
yeah, it's kind of funny.
David's like, oh, it's probably an outage, and Michael's go, well, no, I'm an architect, and my architectural teaching has told me that the generators are supposed to kick in. And David's like, well, I'm a doctor, and I know that at the hospital, the generators are reserved for, like, the ICU and the operating rooms, and they're not going to bother putting power to the elevators. Michael's like, oh, doctor, huh? Really?
Like eyeing him up and down.
It really is.
I can't remember what point it was that I first thought there was something going on between them.
I think it
might have been right from the start.
I think it's David says to Michael, look on the bright side, there's worse places than this elevator to be trapped. And Michael gives him a, oh, really? kind of look. Like, yeah, okay. Like, the odds of you being trapped in an elevator with a handsome gay man are, very, very slim, but they're not none. So let's just
yeah, and you've managed it this time, so lucky you.
Speaking of other people who are trapped inside, but this dude does not have a cute gay doctor with him.
No.
We cut to Gordon, who has called 911. He's got Maddie. He says that he is over at the wholesale meat and fish, and he wants to know if the power went out. And Maddie's like, yeah, the power's out. We're recommending that people shelter in place. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. That's kind of the problem, because I'm trapped inside. Do you think you could send someone to get me out? Because it's getting pretty cold. And Maddie's like, where did you say you were? And he's like, I'm in a walk-in freezer. I'm stuck inside the freezer.
Yeah, and there is a sign on the outside of the freezer that says 27 days without a lost time accident.
The irony.
That's about to become 0 again. But
well,
anyway,
unless they do dodgy things like one of my previous employers used to do, which was if they had a field member, like somebody who worked out in the field, had an injury that meant that they couldn't work out in the field, they would just bring them into the office and have them do like basic admin photocopying shit, because then they could say that they were still working, so they hadn't lost any time. Therefore, they didn't have any lost time injuries.
Oh, is that what it means? There you go. I thought it just meant like a waste of time, like an accident that...
No, it's employees who have lost time from working because of their injury.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow, why do you need a sign to count that? Like, what is going on in this workplace?
It's
a lot of OH&S violations, clearly.
Yeah.
Apparently. Anyway, Maddie actually has an action chart for what to do if you are trapped in a freezer. Or
I mean, we knew
something.
that dispatchers had that, because back in the tsunami, she tells one of the callers that she had an how-to on getting someone to escape through the roof of their house.
In event of flood. So
yeah, so I'm not surprised they also, but we actually see it.
Dispatch have manuals on everything. Like our 000 is the same.
But we actually see it on the screen. It's like a little flowchart thing, and it has the script that Maddie has to say, and then the if they say yes, this is what you say. If they say no, this is what you say, and this is where you go.
Yep.
Yeah, so she coaches him through getting, as insulated as possible so that he doesn't lose too much body heat.
Yeah, so there's usually an emergency release knob inside the freezer, but it's frozen over. And he's tried whacking it, and it's pretty thick.
But later, obviously they have a cut to a overhead kind of skyline shot to show that time has passed. And she asks him how he's going. And he's pretty cold and tired, and then he kind of slowly just tips over. But he's followed Maddie's instructions. So on the manual on what to do about how to conserve body heat, it's they need to insulate hands, head, and body with like a plastic curtain or a sheet. Tinfoil can be used as an insulator for the head. So Gordon has made himself a little nest with cardboard boxes. He's got a tinfoil cap on, and he's got a plastic wrapped around him like a blanket.
Yeah. Poor Gordon.
But it doesn't work.
It's not enough because he falls asleep.
Yeah, he's got hypothermia pretty bad. But pretty much just as he passes out, the 118 arrive. And
so clearly they weren't needed for that car crash.
Well, I mean, the car crash must have been like an hour or so, because we saw the sunset.
True.
And they must have been at car accidents, because whether that one or any others, because when Eddie tries to use the saw, the little like miniature saw, to saw through the hinges so that they can like literally yank the door out of place, the saw dies. And the backup battery is also flat, because he says they've had too many car accidents in one day.
Oh yeah, true.
So they can't saw him out. They probably could smash the window open, but that's not going to help them because nobody can go through the window. So this is a pretty cool idea. The door, Bobby notes, should have an electronic emergency door release. So they find another way to get power to that electronic door release by using the defibrillator. And it is an absolutely brilliant idea, but every time I watch this scene, I am more distracted by the fact that they've got a guy stuck in a freezer suffering hypothermia, and the music supervisor decided to play Ice Ice Baby.
Yep.
Yeah, it made me laugh. Perfect choice.
No, not perfect choice. Incredibly on the nose choice.
Oh yeah, but like, if you're gonna have a ridiculous music choice, then it's the perfect one for that. But yeah, I don't know if this would actually work if you use it's delivering an electric shock to a patient, isn't it? So
yeah, and I mean they do go through this thing where they pull the panel off the door release, and they're stripping wires, and they're from that circuit board, and then they're stripping the wires from the defibrillator and putting the two together. And I don't know if it would work in reality, but it does in this show. They hit the door with 2 charges, and the second charge tips it over the edge. There is enough power for the door to be powered on and open.
Yeah, so they managed to get him out in time and pump him full of warm fluids, and they got to him in time, and they think he's going to be all right. So Maddie's relieved because she actually got to hear the outcome of that one.
Yeah, so I've discovered a 911 creator on TikTok who is a 911 dispatcher. Oh. So that's interesting. They have some very interesting insight. And one of the insights is that she knows fuck all about what happens after the calls, because nobody gets back to her. And somebody mentioned, you're like, oh, maybe it, in the show it's more realistic because, you've got Buck and you've got Chim and they've got a connection with Maddie. And she's like, my husband is a firefighter. I will send him out on calls, and then I will not hear from him for hours. And then the next time that I hear from him, he's like left work and he's been at home. And I'm still at work, wondering where he is, thinking he's still on a call. So
that's rough.
See, because that's the thing is, like, that's what season 1 was all about.
Yeah.
Like, Maddie's like, Abby is saying, hey, you never find out, and rah, rah, rah. And then from, like, as soon as Maddie gets in, they're just like, oh, we'll just tell her everything and just keep her on the line the whole time. It's fine.
But Maddie also had a big thing where she never found out what happened afterwards.
Yeah, and so she was like, do I go back into nursing? Like,
and they had to stage that big intervention with her to prove that what she was doing next was, you know, what happened after the call.
Yeah.
She was still making a difference.
And I've been watching the Australian Ambulance show, which is a show about real life, like with real paramedics and real dispatchers.
This isn't real?
And,
okay.
And they often like mention how they don't know what happened.
Could you imagine the volume of calls that they're getting through that dispatch centre, and Maddie is just sitting on one call the entire time?
Yeah.
Like, how long has she been sitting on that call with Gordon?
I mean, sitting on the call with Gordon, okay, because she's not allowed to hang up, right?
Right.
They have to hang up. The person calling has to hang up.
Yeah.
But, like...
I don't know if...
Yeah, for her to hang around long enough to hear that he's okay, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know if that's true, because, like, there's so many times where they're just like, call me back if you need anything. Like, in real life.
No, but I think we've established in this show, because remember during the floods, Linda, like, Sue literally had to hang up on one of Linda's calls because the caller had drowned, but because the smartphones were water resistant, the phone wouldn't drop. And Linda's like, no, we're not allowed to end the call. And Sue's like, they're dead, honey. And hangs up the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gordon is fine. Maddie is relieved to hear that. While he's been turned out of being a Gordonsicle back into a human being, David and Michael are getting their flirt on. By the way, I don't think we actually find out David's name in this, but I'm just going to call him David because I know that's his name.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's coming back. This is where they have their little relationship conversation in that, you know, Michael has been talking to the kids, I'm guessing. I don't know, we don't find out, but David sort of asks him if the kids are okay, and Michael's like, hey, do you have anyone you need to call? And basically he finds out that no, he doesn't have anybody.
But it's such a sly way of doing it, because David's like, oh, you know, I mean, I've got Oscar. And Michael's like, oh, Oscar. Yeah. And David's like, yeah, but he's not expecting me until 7. Like, oh, yeah, that's good. Because, you know, he's a dog. Like, oh, he's a dog. Right, yeah.
Yeah, he's probably not good at returning texts.
Yeah, no. And then David's like, to answer...
Michael's on a bit of a roller coaster at the moment. He's like...
David's like, you know, to answer the question behind the question, no, I don't have anyone special waiting at home. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also not, you know, adverse to you thinking that I had a man at home waiting for me. You know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
But anyway, Athena is going to investigate the coffee shop that Jeffrey has been visiting.
Yes, at night, in the dark,
at night,
by herself.
It does say closed due to power outage on a sign on the door, and it's nighttime. Coffee shops don't
usually open at night anyway.
Open at night anyway.
This scene would not play the same in daytime, so they had to make it at night for the drama. She does helpfully call Lou to let him know where she is, because after she realizes that the coffee shop is closed, she turns around and discovers that there is a self-storage company at that location. And that kind of explains the coffee shop charges. He's not driving all the way up to West Hollywood to get coffee. I mean, it could be amazing coffee up there, but the coffee is incidental to Athena's newly formed theory that Jeffrey is visiting a storage locker where he is storing his trophies.
And it's closed. Nobody's here because of the power. So She
Instead,
needs Lou to call the manager.
but Athena, this is we're going to check this out tomorrow during the daylight when the manager is here situation. This is not a go in by yourself in the dark situation. Except it is, because it's Athena.
When has Athena ever let common sense get in the way of the drama?
She does at least hang up with Lou and call dispatch and get herself marked as at the studio storage, doing a welfare check. Although she kind of like buries the lead a little bit, because she just tells Maddie she's just doing a business check, and it's not like, hey, I'm checking out a business that has a connection with a serial rapist.
Yeah.
Which I think she should probably have mentioned.
Or she could have called for backup.
Or she could have waited until the next day.
Or wait until tomorrow, yeah. Brought some other people with her, maybe. But anyway, she finds a door that's open a little bit, so she goes inside. She can hear there's somebody else in there. There's like footsteps.
And then we, the audience, see that Jeffrey is in there.
Yes. He's like lurking. He's
lurking, and he's standing under an emergency light, so he's bathed in red.
Oh, it's very evil.
Creepy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like hitting us over the head with the symbolism. Like, he's bathed in red. He's in red, guys. Athena's in like the blue and white light, and he's in the red. Do you get it? But Athena doesn't know that he's there yet. She does find a storage locker that looks like Jeffrey's been living out of it.
Yeah, there's like a little bed made up on one of the shelves.
It's a box that says serial rapist trophies.
So Athena does the sensible thing and calls for backup. She says she needs backup and detectives dispatched to studio self-storage. But before she can finish, Jeffrey attacks her. And for some reason, when he attacks her, he damages her radio, but not so much that it stops transmitting, but that it continues to transmit. Even though she is not holding the button down. He's knocked the button and locked it into on position. So everything that's happening, dispatch can hear.
But apparently everyone in dispatch can. I watched this scene twice because I was trying to work out if everyone in dispatch could hear Athena or if everyone was just responding to Maddie's frantic.
Or like somehow Maddie had like turned it on to broadcast so that everyone could hear.
I don't know. It's weird. Sometimes I feel like everyone can hear everything because Josh will be like 4 stories down and Maddie will get a call and then suddenly he's right there because he's heard what she was on a call for.
Yeah. It's weird.
But then not only can Maddie hear it, but then in her infinite wisdom, she decides to transmit Athena's call to everybody with a radio in Los Angeles. And so as she's calling for backup for officer in distress, everyone can hear said officer in distress, including her husband.
Yeah, this is really strange.
They are finishing up at Wholesale Meat and Fish. They're about to take Gordon to the hospital when all of a sudden they get Maddie over the radio saying officer in distress, and they can hear Athena's grunts and cries of pain and the sound of her being attacked.
Oh, it's just awful. I mean, not only that Athena is getting beat up so thoroughly, but also that everyone can hear. And, you know, Bobby can't really do anything about it except, tell Hen to take old mate to the hospital and everyone else let's go. So they're driving and he's just listening and it's awful.
Would you say that he is powerless to do anything?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not in so many words this time, but yes. Absolutely powerless.
But even as Maddie is telling everyone to switch off from that channel, Bobby is powerless to do that. He's like, if I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen to this entire thing. And I'm going to force y'all to listen to it as well.
Yeah, it's like that thing where they're just like, oh no, where will I find, like, you better tell me where that horrible thing is so I don't ever look at it. It's like, oh, don't listen to Channel 2, guys. There's a police officer getting beaten up and everyone just goes to Channel 2.
Yeah. It's just, the drama is good. Peter Krause does a really good job with his facial expressions in this scene, and the so tension horrified. With the music. It's a very emotionally wrought scene. It's just so fucking ridiculous. So we kind of cut backwards and forwards at this point to Athena getting the crap beaten out of her, to Dispatch listening in horror, to Bobby listening in horror as the 118 race to studio self-storage. We get a little quick shot of Athena's gun dropping to the ground and then getting kicked away, and then it cuts back to Bobby in time for a gunshot to be heard over the radio. And once again, if actors could control their physical reactions, he would be whiter than white at this point. Because
he fully flinches and he just looks... Oh.
Because all the sounds of the assault stop. It's like gunshot and then silence.
Yeah.
And so he's immediately...
Because at least, when he was listening, he could still hear her... even if it was grunts in pain, he could still hear her.
Yes, she was still awake and alive and fighting at some point. But now that the silence...
now there's nothing.
His immediate thought is Athena got shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. The gunshot seems to have fixed the radio.
Yeah.
Or maybe it broke it further because she hasn't told anybody that she's
Athena
okay.
shot the gun. Shot the radio.
Shot the radio.
Which was attached to herself. No, that's not it.
Yeah.
But anyway, by the time the 118 arrive at the scene, there are other LAPD officers there for backup, and they try to stop Bobby from going in, and he's just like, no, and then keeps going.
He grabs an axe.
He goes to the storage locker, grabs a fire axe, and just marches into the building with said fire axe.
On the rampage.
Yeah, do not stop that guy. His wife is in trouble. Let him the fuck through.
Yeah.
They get there and they discover that Jeffrey is alive. He looks in pretty bad shape and he is handcuffed to a pipe. And Bobby just stands over him with the axe in his hands. And Jeffrey's just looking at him going what is going on? Because he has no idea who Bobby is.
No, Bobby's not wearing his Athena's husband t-shirt today.
But it's under his turnout, so no one can see it. Thankfully, Williams recognizes Bobby. He's like, dude, she's over here. And we get a quick shot to see that the gun is in Athena's hand. So it wasn't Athena who got shot, it was obviously Jeffrey who got shot, although he seems to be rather quiet for someone who just got shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she missed. But yeah.
I think she did just shoot the radio.
That's attached to her chest.
But yeah, so Chim and Hen check her out. Her pupils are equal and reactive, which is good. She may have a fractured rib. Her arm's definitely broken. And she's... Athena starts waking up and just goes, I got him.
At this point, Lou arrives. I don't know what he's been doing. He's more interested in this situation. He, checks in with the other LAPD. Is the suspect down? Williams reports that he is alive and he's wounded. Ransom turns to Bobby and says, let's get a medic. Bobby just goes, he can wait.
Yeah, Bobby's said nothing since he got in. He has said nothing. He's just standing there with an axe.
Staring at this man. But
staring at this man, and then, let's get a medic, and he can wait. It's like, oh, fuck, okay, yep, not fair.
Chris, yeah, he mad.
But the thing is, because Chim and Hen are fixing up Athena, but once again, everyone has forgotten that Eddie is a paramedic. So if he really needed medical attention, they could get Eddie to look at him. But Bobby's just like, no, I am denying this man all medical attention. None of my people are touching him. And Ransom's like, okay, we're going to need somebody not from the 118 to come up here and fix this guy.
We're going to need someone who has not been in Athena's house for dinner.
Have you got, like, somebody from Oregon? Can they come down? Like, I know it's a bit of a drive, but I think they're probably going to be the ones with no conflict of interest in this case.
Well, they managed to get Athena out to the ambulance, and Bobby is
they get her on a
hovering,
gurney.
looking so distressed about the whole thing. And Athena also, now that she's awake, she's like calling for Bobby. And he's like,
he immediately
right
dives
here.
into the back of the ambulance with her. There is no stopping him.
Yep.
He's riding in the back.
I don't think anyone would even try at this point. They're like, Bobby, do you want to drive? Like, where are we going here?
Yeah.
No, so Chim gives up his place, so it's Bobby and Hen in the back with Athena.
Yeah, so quick look back at the elevator. They get the other firefighters who are not at the storage place, get the doors open to let them out. And Michael's like, finally, I've had enough of this place. And then he turns to David and goes, no offense.
And then David tries to, like, he's just like, so listen. And Michael's phone immediately starts vibrating.
Yeah. So Michael's just like, hang on, just leave the flirting for a second. I got to answer this call. He's like, hey, Bobby. And then immediately just sprints out of the hospital, leaving David with his listen, just standing in the hallway.
In the dust.
Like, oh, so Michael and Bobby.
Yeah,
okay,
sorry, David.
cool.
This is going to happen a lot because Michael will like drop everything and run to
Bobby.
help his family. So
Yeah.
to Bobby. When Bobby calls, Michael is powerless.
So David's already written, like, he'd be sitting there going, like, I thought he was single. He said he didn't have anybody.
Yeah. Who the fuck is Bobby?
This Bobby called and he immediately just
Like,
legged
dropped
it out.
everything.
Look, honestly, being in queer spaces, if someone said that they were single and then dropped everything for, like, someone else, I'd be like, oh, they're emotional support ex. That's fine.
That's kind of like, I was going to say that's kind of like what Athena is, but no, it's Bobby, right?
Yeah.
Bobby's like Michael's support person
Yes.
at the moment. Bless them. So Michael has brought the kids to the hospital where Athena is.
Which I'm assuming is a different hospital because this one appears to have power. Or maybe
Yeah,
they
or
got
maybe
the power
later.
fixed.
Yeah, later after the power came back on. And, like, he's sort of preparing the kids for, like, the fact that she's been beaten up. Like, she's probably not going to... She's hurt and she's, you know, not okay, but we've got to be strong to help her through it. And they're like, okay.
To May's credit, she immediately just takes her mother's appearance in stride and just goes over and it's like, Mum, I'm so glad you're all right, gives her a hug. Because she's not looking... I mean, I do not want to say that Angela Bassett does not look good because she
always looks beautiful.
good, but she's got... like, her hair is really working for her in this episode. But she's got, like, two black eyes. One eye's nearly swollen shut. She's got that tape that you use to tape stitches together. Bruises all over her face. She's got a cast and a sling. Harry looks absolutely horrified.
Poor Harry.
And Athena's like, it's okay, baby, you know, come and give me a hug. And Harry's like, I don't want to hurt you. And she's like, oh, you're not going to hurt me. A hug from you is exactly what I need. So he literally throws himself on her.
Yeah.
And God bless her, she's like fighting back the
She's like,
screams of
"Ow."
pain, trying to control her face. And she's like, oh, yes, that's exactly what I needed. I'm feeling so much better already.
Yeah, she's going to be out of there soon, but Bobby says that he's going to stay with her she's got to stay for a few days. So Athena's like, I don't want anyone to make a fuss. It's like,
Yeah, because Bobby says that he's going to get a rollaway bed set up in the corner so he doesn't have to leave her side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she says she's fine. And Bobby's like, no, you're not fine. Like, just let me do this.
Which translate as, I'm not fine. I need to do this for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like 2 seconds away from a complete meltdown here. He's like, no, I need to do this, please.
And thankfully she sees that and she's like, okay, it'll be nice to have the company. But then we go from that scene to, I don't know who made the decisions, like what order they're going to put all of these little snippets in. But we go from that like emotionally wrought scene to...
yeah, I thought that was going to be the end, and then
it just kept going.
Just kept going. I was like, oh, fuck, okay.
It's like the Return of the King. It just kept going. You thought you got an ending, but then there's another ending.
Yeah.
We go over to the Wilson household where Karen is ransacking Hen's belongings, trying to find evidence of other things that she's kept from Karen.
Yeah. And then she actually mutters to herself, well, what else are you hiding?
The only reason I'm accepting this scene is because it ends up quite cute in the end, but I'm not loving the Hen is accused of cheating storyline again.
Yeah.
The Hens arranged a babysitter for the kids so that they can go and visit Athena in hospital. But Karen's like, no, I'm not really feeling too well. So just give Athena my love. I'll stay behind. But as we sort of end the scene, we see that she's got some paper in her hand that she's hiding behind her back.
Yeah, she's pulled something out of Hen's wallet. And then for some reason we go back to dispatch. Like, it would make sense. Oh, not going to think too.
Makes sense.
We're not going to think too hard about it.
We've got to progress Josh's
but do we have
to
progress Josh's storyline now? Could we have not like finished off the Hen stuff and then jumped over to Josh? No, not even.
Maybe? Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, we're back at dispatch. Yeah.
Yeah. So Maddie and Josh are talking about what happened. You know, they're going to have nightmares about hearing Athena over the radio because they were powerless. They couldn't help her. I don't actually think they say that, but that's what's happened. And then Maddie says, oh, no, hang on. Josh says, it gives us something new to talk about in therapy. He sounds really excited about that.
And then Maddie says, well, that's great because I thought I was starting to bore Frank. And shout out to Frank.
Hey.
Apparently he's the only therapist in the entire first responder circle.
Yeah, she says that he should talk to Frank about going to court. And Josh is like horrified. She's like, you think I should do it? But Maddie says, no, I think you should consider what it means if you don't do it. So you can get your power back.
Yes, we do actually get the episode title. Like, you keep saying that you feel powerless. He hasn't said it on camera, but I'm assuming that she's like paraphrasing here.
Everyone else has said that they're powerless.
And Maddie wants Josh to consider that perhaps if he faces Greg and tells him how he's feel, he will get his power back. And she bounces, leaving to Josh to consider this. While he is considering this, we go back to Karen, who has, I'm assuming, rehired the babysitter. Or maybe she told Hen that she would take care of the babysitter and then told the babysitter that no, they did actually need them for that evening because she is now at Chimney's apartment.
Yep, she's ditched the kids.
And Chimney looks very confused to see Karen standing on his doorstep, and Karen greets him with, who's Imelda? And Chim's like, who's Imelda to you too? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, and Karen holds up a phone with text message notifications on it, and which turns out later to be a photo of Hen's phone.
Yes.
Confusingly.
But yeah, so Chim's like, what am I looking at here? And Karen's like, proof that Hen's cheating on me. Chim's like, what? Hen would never do that. I mean, not after what happened the last time she did that.
So Karen starts presenting all of her evidence, which is like the text messages, the slip of paper, which apparently contains dates and the name of a hotel, which Karen thinks is like future rendezvous with this Imelda.
Yeah, because you'd write them down on a slip of paper, obviously.
And stick it into your wallet, exactly.
Yeah.
Chimney wants to know if Karen found anything else on Hen's phone. And Karen said, no, the phone was locked. I couldn't get into it. I just took a photo of the text messages. And Chimney's like, well, did you use her thumb to, like, unlock the phone while she was sleeping? And Karen is horrified. Like, ew, Ew, no.
Ew.
But then she thinks the
She's
worst.
like, wait, did you do that? And Jim's like, no, of course not. Buck did it to me once after I got stabbed. Anyway.
I did. This whole scene made me laugh, I have to admit.
I mean, as much shit as we give the writing, this scene is very well written. I do love the little throwaway references to, like, throwaway callbacks to previous episodes and previous storylines.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very clever.
And then we get there's a charge on our credit card for a teppanyaki restaurant. She said she took you there for your birthday. Is that true? And Chim, rather than covering for Hen and saying, like, yeah, we went to teppanyaki, instead he shakes his head and he's like, I can't believe she lied about that because I love teppanyaki.
It's like his allegiance to Hen has been completely destroyed by the fact that she used teppanyaki.
Yeah, but just, like, not the fact that she might be, like, oh, but I love teppanyaki. And the funny, like, this was Karen's reaction too.
Yes, like,
yeah.
Which is like, oh, you didn't invite me, I love teppanyaki.
Which, like,
there's a reason they're all besties, you know?
I mean, it begs the question, if Karen had said, like, she said that, you know, you went out for drinks or, like, you went to this other restaurant, would Chim have gone, oh, yeah, we definitely did that?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But because teppanyaki is sacred, he's like, I am not lying. I am not lying about teppanyaki.
And, yeah, so Karen's mad because Hen lied to her right to her face. Chim's mad because she was using him to lie to Karen. And, like, yeah, Karen's like, we barely survived the last time, now we have 2 kids to think of. Chim's like, I really wish I knew how to help you. And she goes, like, you got anything to drink? And he goes, I got coffee. And they just stare at each other and then he's like, yeah, I'll get something stronger.
I love it.
Like, this whole thing is just the best part of this episode, honestly.
It really is. I don't know what they found, but when we return from commercial, we're back at Chimney's apartment, except this time it's Maddie opening the door to Hen, and Maddie is like, oh my god, thank god you're here. I found them like this. I don't think Karen can drive home. And we see Karen and Chim, like, almost passed out on the couch.
Yeah, they're extremely drunk. And Maddie must have got home and just went, oh my god. And just immediately wrong Hen.
Chim still has a bottle in his hand.
But he found bubblegum somewhere.
Yep.
And if you thought that Karen and Chim bestieism was good when they were sober, when they're drunk, it's amazing.
So funny.
So good.
Because Karen immediately starts sticking it into Hen, and Chim is right there. It's like, Karen's I am sick of the lies, and then you hear Chim going, lies! I'm sick of the betrayal. So much betrayal. And Maddie is very diplomatically like, hey, Chim, maybe we should, give them some privacy. And Chim's like, why do I have to leave? It's my apartment. And she's the one that's cheating.
It's when Hen does this big double take. She's like, I'm not cheating.
And they're both just like, ugh.
But yeah, eventually they get to the bottom of it. So
I just love that, like, she holds up her phone and Chim's, like, pointing at the phone.
And, like, gesturing.
And she pulls out the slip of paper and Chim's, like, gesturing to the paper.
So silly.
Long story short, we eventually discovered that Imelda is Dr. Royce, who was the surgeon that performed the surgery that Hen got dragged into because she wouldn't let go of the guy's artery. And Hen...
Which was really stupid and reckless, by the way. Thanks, Chim.
Yeah. Matt is like, you should stop talking now. And Chim's like, she had a meet cute over an open chest wound. That's not right. It turns out it wasn't a meet cute. It was just a meet because Dr. Royce has been talking to Hen about Hen possibly taking her MCATs, which I think is like the entrance exam to get into med school.
Yep, that's right.
Because Hen is thinking about becoming an actual doctor. And I love that Karen just immediately turns on a dime. She's like, you want to become a doctor? Oh, we do have to mention
doctor.
that that when Hen tells them that the Imelda is Dr. Royce, Chim's like, a doctor. At least it's better than the last one she was cheating on you with, Karen. And Karen's like, but I'm a doctor. Why is she cheating on me with a doctor? I'm a doctor.
I have a PhD.
Anyway, Karen is absolutely in love with the idea. I'm very supportive of Hen becoming a doctor. Chim, on the other hand, not so
Chim
supportive.
goes straight back into sulking.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no one's
so
paying attention.
I'm choosing to headcanon that they went home and actually, like maybe after Karen sobered up, they actually had a discussion about how she automatically assumed that Hen was cheating again.
Oh, yeah, they
and,
definitely need
we
to
don't
have that
really get
talk.
any kind of resolve of
No.
this actual storyline.
No,
because,
that's not sexy. Instead, we get, apparently Karen has a doctor kink because she dresses Hen up in the doctor's coat that Hen got given in the last episode. And then I guess takes it off her later. Possibly with her teeth. I don't know.
Yeah.
But no,
Good for them.
no actual
Good for
discussion
them.
about the fact that Karen immediately assumed that Hen was cheating.
Yeah, I feel like Hen would have been a little more upset about it.
Oh, she should have been. 100%.
Yeah, we don't see that.
No,
So-
because that's like actual character stuff.
We don't have room for that in the episode, apparently.
No, we don't.
We
We could have
But
taken out this scene and had some actual
because we have
character
prom
growth.
night. Yeah.
But no, we get this instead.
Oh yeah, so it is prom day. May is at the salon. Michael has dropped Harry off at the Andersons, who are the people up the road that he set fire to the front of their house. Is that correct?
I think
Was that
so.
them? Anyway, he's checking. He's come to the house to check on Bobby to see if he's okay.
And Bobby is
And
not
Bobby
okay.
is not fine, but I'm managing. But yeah, seeing her like that makes him feel powerless. I hope I can say this is the last time we actually say the words, but I think there's a voiceover later, which probably...
No, I don't
includes
see
it.
any more highlights. I think we're good. I think this
I'm
is the
trying
last
to work
one.
out when this is, because Bobby was going to stay at the hospital. Why is he back at the home alone?
I'm assuming that when he said he was going to stay at the hospital, like he was going to sleep at the hospital.
Maybe he
But
came
the
home
last
for a
time we
shower.
saw him, he was in duty uniform still, so I'm guessing he's come back. He's now in civvies in this scene. But yeah,
Yeah, maybe he
Yeah,
went to
ma-
get pajamas or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he might have gone home to change.
don't think
Go get
about
Athena's
it.
phone charger.
Don't think about it. Just let's just get through it because this is so ridiculous. Yes, so Michael says that Bobby feels powerless, and Bobby agrees that he doesn't know what to do with that feeling of powerlessness. And Michael says, well, you know what? A wise man once told me that he couldn't offer me any sage advice. All he could offer me was a hammer. And said wise man, like Michael's throwing Bobby's words back in his face because that's what Bobby told him in rage.
Yeah, at first I must have missed these couple of lines because one minute they were talking about being powerless, and then I looked back
They're
and they were
swinging
like
hangers?
smashing stuff up with a hammer. I'm like, what? Did they go back to the smash room place? So I had to
would have
rewind
made
it a bit, and I'm like,
sense.
no, they're actually smashing up the house. Okay.
Yeah, because Bobby goes, okay,
Cool, why
cool.
not?
What do you want me to do with a hammer? Without missing a beat. Like, Michael obviously had this idea the entire time. Because he just looks straight at the fireplace and goes, I never did like that. Like, I built it, but I never did like it. Then why did you build it?
Yeah, right. He's the
Sometimes
architect.
you build stuff, and then you look at it and you go, oh, actually, I don't really like it. That happens. But anyway, Bobby's like, Athena's going to kill us. And Michael's like, don't worry, I'll build you guys a new one.
I mean, that's not going to fix Athena killing them, because they're going to be dead. They can't,
Yeah.
he can't build them a new fireplace if they're dead.
Yeah, I mean, they just lay into the wall with the sledgehammer.
And can I just say, I mean, thank God Athena is in the hospital and they do end up taking prom pictures at the hospital. Could you imagine trying to take prom pictures in this destruction.
In the house, yeah.
Like, I know that they're, like, industrial chic is a thing, and it's very in to have, like, wedding photos at, like, industrial parks and, you know, but I don't think the construction site is really what May was going for.
No, broken bricks.
But they look like they're having a great time.
Yeah, obviously works to get all the anger out, because by the time they actually go back to the hospital for prom photos, they both look a lot more relaxed about everything.
Way more relaxed.
So they're taking photos in the hospital room.
Yeah, because May didn't want Athena to miss out.
Yeah.
And Harry is taking the pictures, as you said before.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks they should pay him for his services. And Darius, bless him, says that Athena has to be in a photo. And she's like, oh, no, I'm not in any condition for a photo. But May insists, because I couldn't be more proud. You got him, you won. And she wants pictures to remember this moment.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very cute sentiment, but also they're going to look back at the pictures and go, oh, that's right, you were in hospital after being beaten up by a bad guy.
You're like, you know, this was my high school graduation. This was my prom night when my mother got beat up by a rapist.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, it's not photos that May is ever going to want to look back on.
Yeah, no.
And then we're going to get just, like, little wrapping up of the storylines, just to tie this episode off in a nice bow. So Josh takes Maddie's advice and decides that he's going to reclaim his power, and he is going to give a statement in court. Chimney is still drunk, or rapidly sobering up.
Very hungover, yeah.
And having to deal with the fact that Hen is potentially leaving him.
Aww,
for another specialty.
He's so sad about it.
Yeah.
Hen and Karen are getting it on with their, like, Doctor kink.
Yeah.
Athena poses for prom photos. Harry's very cute, and she's posing, and he's telling it, "Oh, like, get it, Mama." Everybody's laughing. Everybody's smiling.
And she still looks gorgeous.
She still does look
half
amazing.
Of her face is all bruised.
And you'd think that this would be the perfect place to end the episode. Like, on a high note, everybody's happy, we're all good, right? No, we've got one more ending.
But there's more.
There's another ending.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. I have a last-minute 911 call, which appears to be...
Yeah, Maddie teleports to dispatch.
I'm going to assume it's the next day. Or later on. I don't know, because, we just saw Maddie trying to deal with her...
With Chim.
Yeah. Drunken / hungover boyfriend who is having SADs, and then suddenly she's taking this 911 call. And it's a very professional 911 call. The caller immediately gets the details. There's been a train derailment. Here is the location. We started off at this location where we're heading into here. We've crashed somewhere in this location. Maddie tries to jump in to start asking all of the questions that she's supposed to answer, and the caller's like, there are multiple injuries. This is a mass casualty situation. You need to send out very available RA unit. We need USAR. We need LAPD for traffic control. Just starts listing off all of the things that Maddie would normally be doing when she knows that it's a mass casualty event.
And all through this as well, the caller's walking through the train carriage, but with their back to us, like we're over their shoulder. So we can see all the injuries and the damage and destructions, but we can't see who's on the phone.
Maddie's frantically typing.
You see the caller's beautiful hair.
We can see them. We can see the beautiful hair. The voice sounds oddly familiar. And while Maddie and Josh jump to getting a mobile command center up, getting USAR, getting LAPD, getting LAFD, Maddie tells the caller, it seems like you've done this before. And the caller says, yeah, but I was on your end. And then we see the caller turn around as they say, I used to be a 911 dispatcher. And it's Abby.
It's Abby!
Which... when I first watched this episode, I was very excited about, because I love Abby. And I thought it was great that they brought Abby back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out your thoughts about that next
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know how I was surprised the first time I watched it. Like, and I have in my notes, like, oh my god, Abby, with a question mark. But, like, look, now that I know that she's, like, in the next episode, like, the last 2 episodes have been Abby.
Yeah,
Abby,
they have been recalling her, like, along.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, look, Abby's here. How strange.
Well, I probably would have been more surprised, except at the end of the last episode you were like, oh, I wonder why they keep mentioning Abby. I'm like, oh, okay, she's coming back.
Like, I mean, it kind of made sense when they had that big thing about Red. Because, you know, Red was Buck all grown up, and he, you know, there was the patient with dementia, so, it's natural that they're going to have the Abby parallels. But also...
And then the hot air balloon.
Why did they have to have so many Abby parallels? And then you throw
They
in...
just needed to remind people who Abby was.
I think that was it. I think that was... They needed to, like, hey, remember Abby? Like, remember Abby? Because you're going to need to remember her to get the maximum impact, like 2 episodes down the line. Yep. But thankfully, that is the ending for this episode.
Yeah, that is the final ending.
We don't have any more endings after this.
We do end with a big, like, sweeping shot that's like an overhead shot of the train, and, like, it's bad. One of them's almost vertical, everything's on fire, and that's where it ends, finally.
So, next week, train disaster.
Funnily enough, yes. The 118 rushed to the scene of a train crash. There is other shit that happens, but that's all we hear about for this episode.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing I know that you've seen. There's a pretty major guest star in next week's episode. No mention of her.
Oh, yeah.
It's just all about the train crash.
Yeah, they could have said that she returns.
Well, the summaries usually come out earlier than the episodes.
But, like, remember when Lena was there, all of the promos were, like, guest starring, Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, because they wanted people who were into Ronda Rousey to watch, obviously.
Yeah, no mention of Brooke Shields. I would have thought that for a show that was pushing Angela Bassett and Peter Krauser and Connie Britton as kind of these are the actors that you wanted, that are in this show that you want to watch, Brooke Shields kind of fits that demographic. I would have thought they'd have pushed her pretty hard too, but there's no mention of her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a big one.
The promo summary does not also mention, like, 3/4 of the triggers that are going to happen for this, for next week's episode, which, as well as the train derailment, mass injuries and fatalities, including children at threat, we're going to have continued discussions of cancer. We're going to have flashbacks to Athena's assault in the previous episode and discussions of rape and sexual assault.
Yep.
Because we still got to tidy up that whole Jeffrey storyline too.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not sexy. Train derailments are sexy.
Yes. Yeah, so next week being the season finale. That's amazing. I can't believe we've made it all the way to the end of season 3. So the Powerless episode, I mean, we've already spoke about what we thought about the overuse of the word powerless in every scene.
And it going from, like, metaphorically powerless to being literally powerless.
Literally being powerless.
Yeah, like the Henren stuff and the Karen Chimney stuff was the best part of the episode. Which is saying something.
I mean, not even the Henren stuff, like, I mean, they were cute and everything, but it was like, did we really need her to be, like, suspected of cheating again? It seemed a bit pointless.
Bobby having to listen to Athena getting beaten up was absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
I think every decision about storylines for this one was, what is the most dramatic way that we can possibly do this? Does not matter if it's realistic. There is no room for realism in this episode. We just want drama.
Yeah, it was all very over the top. But anyway, I didn't hate the episode. I thought by the end, there were very funny parts to it, especially Karen and Chim being drunk together. That was great.
Yeah, in the
so much.
I think we need to do like a ranking of Kristen Rydell episodes. Like, it's not the worst Kristen Rydell episode.
No,
but it's definitely.
But she's done better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering whether she wrote, because there were 2 writers for this one. I wonder if they wrote different storylines and they all got shoved together again, like sometimes happens with co-writing.
I don't know.
But there were so many moving parts in this episode that all had like little choppy scenes that came one after the other that, yeah, I don't know, it'd be difficult to work it out, I think.
Fly on the wall. Would love to be a fly on the wall in a writer's room sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, onwards to the finale, right?
Yes.
Speaking of which, this is probably the last opportunity that you guys, listeners, have to send your feedback for season 3, because after you're hearing this, we're going to be recording our wrap-up. Oh, God, which means I need to look at the list of episodes and decide which ones I liked and which ones I didn't like. Better do some homework.
Yes, so if you would like to do your homework, from previous wrap-ups, we usually discuss the bests and worsts, including best and worst episode, best and worst character for the season. We also like to discuss our favourite emergency call for the season. This season, we're also going to go the best and worst 911 calls, as in the literal call into 911 that the dispatchers have to deal with. I've got a list. I went through all the episodes for season 3. It's dismal and hilarious.
Yes.
So if you have thoughts about any of those things, please let them know. And don't forget, you can also give feedback on That Weewoo Show's season 3. Were there any outtakes you found particularly hilarious? Were there any rants or tangents that you found interesting?
Have you learnt more about Australia?
Do you have any questions for us that you would like to ask us, either as watchers of 911 or as Australians? No matter what feedback or questions you send in, please remember that Ellen has only seen up to the end of season 3, and we are trying to keep her as spoiler-free as possible. We're not succeeding. She does know some stuff, but we're trying really hard to keep her shielded.
Yeah, I should mention that as of recording, season 8, episode 16.
Yeah, we just watched 16.
Has just aired. So we are aware of what is currently happening in 911. Bex and I are choosing to ignore it, just like Nick Fury in the Avengers. It's a stupid-ass decision, and we've elected to ignore it. So, yeah, we are aware. Ellen is somewhat aware, but we're still shielding her.
And we're not going to talk about it with her because we don't want to make her any more aware of it.
That's it. So just season 3. But we are aware and are ignoring it.
Oh, you're making me so worried. Okay.
See, this is also why we don't want to talk about it, because we don't want to influence your thoughts about future seasons.
It's fine. By the time you get to season 8, you'll forget.
Probably. It's going to be a long way off if we're going at this rate, one episode per week. But we're almost done with season 3, so you can send us feedback for the whole season via email or DMs or comments on the website. Go to thatweewooshow.com. You can find ways to get in touch with us, or you can leave comments directly in Spotify about this particular episode as well. Thank you for listening this week, and we will see you next time for episode 18, the finale, which is called What's Next. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
911 is a fictional show, but many of the situations portrayed happen in the real world too. If any of the topics we've discussed in this episode have affected you, please know you're not alone. You can call or text numbers in your country for help. Just Google crisis support in your location to find out the number. If you enjoy our podcast, you can help us out by leaving us a review on Spotify or your preferred listening app, and by sharing our social media posts. Find out more at thatweewooshow.com.